Hello and welcome to the 21-22 Academic Support Program Overview presentation. My name is Erin Smith and I am the Director of Academic Support. This year, our team supports all of our English language learners, our MTSS framework, PBIS, intervention tutoring, our SSTs, 504s, as well as dyslexia screening. Our agenda for today will include starting by looking at the new additions to our team for 21-22 school year, highlights from the previous school year, 2021. Then I will introduce our team and dive a little bit deeper into each of our departments for a better understanding of the support that we provide here at CCS. The CCS mission and vision is at the heart of all that we do here as we continue to focus on inspiring and developing our innovative, creative, and self-directed learners, one scholar at a time. We also strive to create a collaborative virtual learning community, inspiring scholars to appreciate the ways in which arts and sciences nurture a curiosity for lifelong learning and prepare scholars to take responsibility for their future. We're excited to have a lot of new additions to the school year. This year, we've welcomed 2 EL tutors grant funded through the 23-24 school year, which have allowed us to provide tutoring twice weekly with additional Q&A and one-on-one support sessions weekly for our English language population, compared to just twice a month within the 2021 school year. Positions have also been posted just recently for 3 new resource specialists, also grant funded through the 23-24 school year in the areas of ELA, math, and reading to help further support scholars with skill-based small groups to further target instruction. For dyslexia screening this year, and for referrals that come into our team, our Scholar Support Coordinator is using the Renaissance Star Curriculum-Based Measurement, or CBM. This screener is designed to identify areas of concern and components of reading that may suggest characteristics of dyslexia. The results from the screener can further personalize interventions that focus on scholars' strengths and weaknesses. The use of the CBM is being reviewed as a potential universal dyslexia screener, or UDS, as we prepare for the probable passing of SB 237 for fall of 2022. In addition, our Scholar Support Coordinator is supporting AB 104 retention promotion request process with a management and scheduling of 14 of those requests since September 1st. I'd like to now introduce you to our English language support team. Our English language support coordinator, Mrs. Christy Ccs, Fatima Hernandez, our English language tutor, and Gina Lopez, an additional English language tutor. Our our English language support department uses the designated ELD course with Lexia, which is an online platform. All of our TK through 12 English language scholars this year will have access to the designated online ELD course with Lexia. Within Lexia for grades TK through 5, they're using a program called Core 5 Reading. And similarly in grades 6 through 12, they're using Power Up. Lexia provides reporting tools that can help us with tracking and monitoring of our scholar progress to support data collection that can help us further drive our instruction and supports. It also can help provide teachers and learning coaches with real-time performance data that helps us pinpoint scholar gaps to strengthen interventions. In addition, it helps to show consistent gains in language fluency, and the data that's shared with our teachers regularly can help inform their instruction. Live virtual support sessions, as mentioned, are provided and hosted by our EL tutors. The ELD direct support sessions, again, are offered twice weekly this year. We're extremely excited about that. And these sessions are live interactive virtual lessons that focus on listening, speaking, reading, and writing to support our annual summative assessment. I'd like to share a little bit about our highlights coming from our English language support department. So last year was our very first year to have an English language coordinator that really was working at supporting our supervising teachers, but also our English language learners. At that point in time, Mrs. Sayas was providing bi-monthly tutoring and scholars were provided access to Lexia as our designated ELD. In just 1 year, Our EL scholars with support from Mrs. Sayas showed considerable improvement. We're going to first take a look at Lexia Core 5. Those are the students that are within grades K through 5. So the graph that you'll see here on this slide shows a significant reduction of English language learner scholars working below grade level material, which is the GLM, from 67% in September to 42% in June. In turn, there was also an increase in scholars working in or above GLM from 33% to 57%. Please note that that 57% figure includes 19% of scholars working above grade level material in June. Super excited about some of these results, but there's more. In addition, we'd like to highlight some of the achievement in Lexia Power Up. The three graphs on the right show that there were significant gains in proficiency from September 2020 to June 2021 in the areas of word study, grammar, and reading comprehension. We are excited to see what improvements we will see and continue to see this year upon adding 2 more EL tutors and increasing the frequency of our live session tutoring from bi-monthly to bi-weekly, as I shared earlier. We look forward to sharing this data with you as we gather more information at the mid-year diagnostic. Next, I'm going to move on to our Scholar Success Department. We have Melissa Mayer, who's our Scholar Success Coordinator this year. We have Jasmine Mejia, one of our tutors, Alexis Silva, tutor, Michaela Van Voren, tutor, and Sylvia Pearsall, tutor. Let's look a little bit about what we have happening within that department. So within our Scholar Success Department, and under Melissa Mayer, who's overseeing the multi-tiered systems of support, or MTSS, which helps best support scholars in reaching academic goals. MTSS is a school-wide initiative which targets behavioral, social, emotional, and academic support for scholars prior to a problem arising. Our supervising teachers help these efforts by monitoring red flags and submitting scholar data from their rosters every learning period. They also use PBAS, or positive behavior interventions and supports, as rewards based on our set of Arctic scholar expectations. Finally, our 4 tutors will provide English and math interventions to support all scholars needing tiered supports with virtual tutoring sessions. Compass will offer a complimentary subscription package as well to all of our scholars here at Compass. Many of these will help with families transitioning into the new school year effectively and providing additional resources to help guide instruction, enrichment, and additional practice. Let's look a little bit at our highlights and successes from last school year. So in our Scholar Success team, we have some exciting data to share from last year. The pie chart you'll see on the left shows that 36% of scholars that attended reading tutoring sessions scored at or above grade level via the diagnostic assessment that was conducted in June. On the right pie graph, we'll see that 14% of invited scholars that did not attend tutoring were at above grade level, while 85% were below grade level. Now let's look at some of our math data. So that was just covering our reading area. So for math, we saw some improvement as well. 41% of scholars that attended our math tutoring sessions scored at or above grade level via the final diagnostic in June, whereas only 37% of scholars that were not attending our tutoring were at or above grade level. We also noticed some changes and some differences within those scholars that are identified as needing our tier 2 and tier 3 supports. So when we were looking at the beginning of year, the middle of year, and the end of year in reading, we did notice some great significant change. So this bar graph represents the scholars that identified as needing tier 2 and tier 3 supports for reading via the diagnostic assessments. We identified less MTSS tier 2 and tier 3 scholars via the final diagnostic assessment in June than we did in September or February. So if you take a look at that, I know it might be a little bit small on your end, but we saw tier 2 scholars drop from 280 scholars identified in September to only 90 scholars in June. And similarly at tier 3, we saw a drop from 409 scholars identified as tier 2 to, for tier 3 to 284 scholars identified in that final diagnostic in June. Similarly, again, for math, if we look at that, at those changes that we noticed within each of those benchmark testing windows, we see some of those similar changes as well. So similar to reading, we saw decreases in both the number of scholars identified as tier 2 or tier 3 via the diagnostic. Again, in the beginning of the year for tier 2, we saw about 375 scholars identified versus 155 in June. And tier 3 scholars from about 659 in September to about 393 in June. So very excited about the progress that we made in this area last year. Lastly, we have our Scholar Support Department. Our Scholar Support Department is overseen by Dawn Lothringer, who oversees our Section 504s, our Scholar Success Team process, as well as our dyslexia screening. As the coordinator in charge of Section 504 plans, Dawn reviews any incoming scholars 504 plans, adjusts them to meet the scholar's needs based on a new educational setting. She maintains all of the Section 504 records and meets annually with the scholars team to ensure that appropriate supports are in place for the scholar to succeed. The SSC will also communicate monthly with the supervising teachers of the scholars with 504 plans to ensure that those scholars are making great progress. Dawn also is part of overseeing the SST process. So she reviews the requests and scholar data to assemble the SST team to best support the scholar's needs. She will schedule the meetings as well as organize and maintain all the documentation and paperwork for each of those SST meetings. And lastly, as shared a little bit earlier, Dawn is also working with the CBM, the curriculum-based measurement in STAR Renaissance as a dyslexia screener for scholars that are referred for those screenings. So let's look a little bit about the highlights that came from Dawn's department last year. So if we look a little bit about scholar diagnostic results of those scholars that are on a 504, we saw that in the area of ELA, we saw an improvement for our grades K through 5 scholars from 67% at or above grade level on the initial diagnostic in September to 86% on the final end of year diagnostic. Really excited about that improvement. In the area of math for K through 5, we saw 68% at or above grade level in September, moving up to 83% on the final end of year diagnostic. And then for our middle and high school scholars, we saw in ELA, we moved from 42% at our grade level on the initial diagnostic in September to 58% in June. And again, in math, we saw an improvement from 16% at or above grade level to about 27% on the final diagnostic in June. So we're very excited of the progress we made last year as a new team. Really excited for all of our new additions and support that we have coming into us this year with use of some of the grant funding we have available to us. We appreciate all the support from our supervising teachers, from the board, from our cabinet, as well as all of our other staff support positions here at Compass Charter. So thank you so much. We appreciate all the support. And now if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you so much and have a great day.